Andrew Davis stared at the four alien beauties surrounding him, a stark contrast to the barren wasteland he'd called home for the past year. His mind raced back to the moment it all began, when the Pandronian Empire sentenced him to die on this godforsaken rock. The memory of Commander Corvis's cold reptilian eyes bore into him as the alien delivered humanity's ultimatum. Survive one Earth year on Helios 9, and we'll consider negotiations for your species. The words echoed in Andrew's head, a constant reminder of the stakes at hand. With nothing but basic gear and his special forces training, Andrew found himself thrust onto a planet seemingly designed to kill. 3 suns blazed overhead, their merciless heat turning the vast desert into a deadly oven. Violent sandstorms threatened to strip the flesh from his bones. In those first days, Andrew discovered he wasn't the first to walk this path. Skeletal remains of previous exiles littered the dunes, a grim testament to the planet's lethality. Each corpse served as a stark warning: adapt or die. Survival became Andrew's sole focus. He scoured the landscape for water, constructing a rudimentary shelter to shield himself from the elements. His military experience proved invaluable as he navigated the treacherous terrain, narrowly escaping death at every turn. Helios 9's indigenous creatures posed a constant threat. Massive, scaled predators lurked beneath the sand, while venomous flying insects swarmed in dark crevices. Andrew learned to hunt the local fauna, his kills providing both sustenance and materials for crafting tools. Weeks turned to months as Andrew honed his survival skills. He developed techniques to harvest moisture from the air and learned to predict the deadly sandstorms. His shelter evolved into a fortified base, a testament to human ingenuity in the face of adversity. During one of his expeditions, Andrew stumbled upon ancient ruins half buried in the sand. The crumbling structures hinted at a long-lost alien civilization, one far more advanced than he could have imagined. Within these ruins, he unearthed a technological marvel, a communication device capable of transmitting across vast distances. This discovery changed everything. Andrew made contact with other human exiles scattered across Helios 9, forming a network of survivors. They shared crucial information, pooling their knowledge and resources to increase their chances of survival. As the Pandronian-imposed deadline approached, Andrew's thoughts turned from mere survival to something greater. The advanced technology he'd found, combined with the alliance of exiles, presented an opportunity, not just to endure, but to fight back. With determination burning in his eyes, Andrew began formulating a plan. The Pandronians had sent him here to die, but he would return, and when he did, it wouldn't be alone. The 4 alien beauties by his side were proof of that. Together, they held the key to humanity's liberation from Pandronian rule. Andrew's lips curled into a grim smile. The aliens thought they'd sentenced him to death on this desert planet. Instead, they'd given him the means to become their worst nightmare. Andrew's eyes locked with those of the 4 alien beauties surrounding him, a silent acknowledgement passing between them. They had come so far, endured so much, but their journey was a long way to go. Turning his gaze to the vast expanse of Helios 9's desert, Andrew spotted a narrow opening in the distance, barely visible through the shimmering heat haze. Curiosity piqued, he led his small group towards it. As they approached, the narrow gap revealed itself to be the entrance to a deep canyon. Carefully, they navigated the treacherous descent, the temperature dropping noticeably with each step. At the bottom, a sight greeted them that seemed impossible on this hellish world, a lush oasis teeming with life. Vibrant vegetation surrounded a clear pool of water, the greenery a stark contrast to the barren wasteland above. Andrew's companions gasped in wonder, their eyes wide with disbelief. "How is this possible?" Lydia, the former engineer, whispered. Andrew surveyed the area, his military training kicking in. The canyon walls must protect it from the worst of the heat and storms. This could be the key to our survival. As they explored the oasis, a glint of metal caught Andrew's eye. Half buried in the soft soil near the water's edge lay the twisted remains of a spacecraft. It was unlike anything he had seen before, its design clearly alien. Approaching cautiously, Andrew noticed movement within the wreckage. He signaled for the others to stay back as he crept closer, hand hovering near his makeshift weapon. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the twisted metal. Tall, with scaled skin and reptilian features, it was unmistakably Pandronian. But this one was different from the soldiers Andrew had encountered before. It was slimmer, its movements more graceful. A female. Their eyes met, and for a moment neither moved. Then the Pandronian spoke, her voice surprisingly melodic. "I mean you no harm, human. I am Zara, a scientist of the Pandronian Empire. Or, I was." Andrew's grip on his weapon tightened. "Why should I trust you?" Zara's eyes darted to the others, then back to Andrew. "Because I, like you, am an exile on this world, and because I hold knowledge that could change the fate of both our species." Over the next few days, an uneasy alliance formed between the humans and Zara. The Pandronian scientist revealed that she had been part of a secret faction within the Empire, working to end the subjugation of other species. Her crash on Helios 9 had been no accident, but an attempt to escape those who had discovered her true allegiance. As they worked together to salvage what they could from Zara's ship, she shared invaluable information about Pandronian weaknesses and technology. In return, Andrew taught her about human resilience and adaptability. Their first joint project was a water reclamation system, combining Pandronian tech with human ingenuity. As the system came online, providing a steady supply of clean water, Andrew couldn't help but feel a sense of pride. "This is just the beginning," he said, watching as crystal-clear water flowed from the makeshift pipes. Word of their success spread quickly among the scattered human exiles. Soon others began to arrive at the oasis. Among them were Maya, a former military strategist whose tactical knowledge complemented Andrew's leadership, and Kira, a skilled botanist who immediately set to work cultivating edible plants in the fertile soil of the oasis. As their numbers grew, so did their ambitions. The oasis transformed into a thriving settlement. Solar panels salvaged from Zara's ship provided power. Hydroponic gardens, designed by Kira and built with Lydia's engineering expertise, ensured a stable food supply. A rudimentary communication network, cobbled together from Pandronian tech and human innovation, kept them connected with other pockets of survivors across the planet. Andrew found himself at the center of it all, his adaptive skills and leadership experience making him the natural choice to guide their growing community. But he never lost sight of their ultimate goal: survival and eventual liberation from Pandronian rule. During one of their expeditions beyond the oasis, Andrew and Zara stumbled upon more ruins, far more extensive than any they had encountered before. As they explored the crumbling structures, Zara's eyes widened in recognition. "This architecture, it's ancient Pandronian," she breathed, running her hand along a worn wall covered in strange symbols, "but far more advanced than anything in the modern empire." Deeper in the ruins, they discovered a cache of weapons and technology, their design both familiar and alien to Zara. "These must date back to the height of our civilization, before the empire became corrupted by its own power," she explained. As they studied and adapted the ancient technology, combining it with their own innovations, Andrew couldn't shake the feeling that they were on the cusp of something monumental. The weapons they uncovered could potentially turn the tide against the Pandronian Empire, but wielding such power would come with its own risks. Their progress didn't go unnoticed. Pandronian patrols, sent to check on the exiles, returned with reports of a flourishing community where they expected to find only bones bleaching in the sun. When word reached Commander Corvis, his reptilian features contorted with rage and disbelief. In the oasis, Andrew gathered his core team: Zara, Lydia, Maya, and Kira. Each brought unique skills and perspectives to the table, forming a formidable leadership group. "We've intercepted Pandronian communications," Maya reported, her face grim. "Corvis has no intention of honoring the agreement. He plans to wipe us out entirely." Andrew's mind focused. They had all suspected this might be the case, but hearing it confirmed still sent a chill through him. "Then we need to strike first," he said, his voice steady and determined. As the group began formulating plans for an assault on the Pandronian base, Andrew looked around at the faces of his companions. Human and Pandronian alike, they had forged a bond stronger than any empire. Together, they would fight not just for survival, but for a future where both their species could live free from tyranny. The harsh suns of Helios 9 beat down on the oasis, but within its sheltered confines, hope bloomed alongside the lush vegetation. Andrew knew that the coming battle would test them all, but as he watched his people prepare, he felt a surge of confidence. The Pandronians had sought to break them on this hellish world. Instead, they had created the seeds of their own destruction. As the harsh suns of Helios 9 dipped below the horizon, Andrew found himself drawn to the outskirts of their thriving oasis. The cool evening air carried the scent of unfamiliar flora, a stark reminder of how far they'd come. Zara's silhouette caught his eye, her scaled form illuminated by the fading light. "Contemplating our next move?" Andrew asked, moving to stand beside her. Zara turned, her reptilian features softening. "Always, but also us." The word hung between them, laden with unspoken meaning. Andrew felt a fluttering in his chest, a sensation he'd thought long forgotten in the struggle for survival. He reached out, his fingers intertwining with Zara's clawed hand. "I never expected this," he admitted, his voice low. "A human and a Pandronian." Zara's free hand cupped his cheek, her touch surprisingly warm. Perhaps it was always meant to be. Two exiles finding common ground on this unforgiving world. Their lips met, a union of two species that should have been enemies. The kiss was tender, exploratory, bridging the gap between human and Pandronian physiology. As they parted, Andrew saw a flicker of movement from the corner of his eye. Lydia stood at the edge of the camp, her expression unreadable before she turned and disappeared into the shadows. The moment was shattered by a piercing alarm. Andrew and Zara sprinted back to the command center, where Maya hunched over a console, her face illuminated by pulsing red lights. "We've got incoming," Maya reported, her voice taut. "A massive Pandronian fleet just entered orbit." Andrew's mind raced. "How many ships?" "Too many," Maya replied grimly. "This isn't a patrol, it's an extermination force." Kira burst into the room, clutching a data pad. "I've intercepted their communications. It's Corvis. He's ordered the complete eradication of all life on Helios 9. The weight of the situation settled over the group. Months of preparation, of building their community, threatened to crumble in an instant. Andrew's gaze swept over his team, lingering on Zara. Her presence, once a symbol of unlikely alliance, now represented hope for a future where their species could coexist. "We're not dead yet," Andrew declared. "Zara, those ruins we found. You said they were ancient Pandronian tech, right? More advanced than the Empire's current level?" Zara nodded, her eyes widening with realization. "The planetary defense system. It's a long shot, but—" "It's our only shot," Andrew finished. "Lydia, Maya, grab whatever equipment you think we'll need. Kira, you're our eyes and ears. Monitor their fleet movements and keep our people calm." The team sprang into action, racing against time as the Pandronian fleet loomed ever closer. Deep within the ruins, Andrew and Zara worked feverishly to decipher the ancient controls. Sweat beaded on Andrew's brow as he connected power sources, guided by Zara's understanding of her ancestors' technology. A deafening roar shook the ground. Through a gap in the ruins, they saw a blinding flash as the first Pandronian barrage struck the planet's surface. "Now or never," Andrew muttered, slamming his palm onto the activation panel. For a heart-stopping moment, nothing happened. Then, with a surge of energy that made the air crackle, a shimmering dome materialized over the horizon. The next salvo from the Pandronian fleet splashed harmlessly against the shield, dissipating in a spectacular light show. Cheers erupted from the settlement, but Andrew knew their victory was temporary. The ancient power source hummed ominously, fluctuations in its output indicating its instability. "This buys us time," Zara said, her voice tight with urgency. "But not much. The shield won't hold forever." Andrew nodded, his mind already formulating a plan. "Then we take the fight to them. Maya, what do we know about their teleportation network?" Maya's fingers flew over her data pad. "It's their primary method of troop deployment. If we could access it, we could hit them everywhere at once," Lydia finished, a fierce grin spreading across her face. The next hours were a blur of activity. The team pored over the ancient technology, integrating it with their own innovations. Andrew outlined his audacious plan: hijack the Pandronian teleportation network, infiltrate key ships and facilities across their empire, and strike at the heart of their operation. As the group prepared to split into teams, Andrew made a final sweep of the ruins. His hand brushed against a hidden panel, revealing a chamber they'd overlooked. Inside, holographic displays flickered to life, showing strands of DNA rotating slowly in the air. "Zara," Andrew called, his voice echoing through the ancient structure. "I need you to see this." The Pandronian scientist entered, her eyes widening as she took in the display. This can't be," she whispered, her clawed hands moving deftly over the controls. "What is it?" Andrew asked, sensing the weight of the discovery. Zara turned to him, her expression a mix of awe and disbelief. "These are genetic records of Helios 9's original inhabitants. Andrew, they're ancestors of both humans and Pandronians. We're related." The implications hit Andrew like a physical blow. Their conflict, the years of hostility between their species, all based on a lie, or at the very least, a tragic misunderstanding of their shared heritage. There was no time to fully process this world-shaking revelation. The unstable shield above them flickered, a reminder of the imminent threat. Andrew gathered his team for one final briefing. "What we do here today isn't just about survival," he told them, his voice carrying the weight of their newfound knowledge. "It's about reclaiming a shared destiny. Human, Pandronian. Those labels don't matter anymore. We're fighting for our future. All of us." With a shared nod of purpose, the teams took their positions around the jury-rigged teleportation device. Andrew stood beside Zara, their hands clasped tightly. Lydia and Maya double-checked their weapons, while Kira manned the control station. "On my mark," Andrew said, his finger hovering over the activation switch. He met each of their eyes in turn, seeing in them a reflection of his own willpower. 3, 2, 1. The world dissolved in a flash of light as they hurtled across space, each team materializing at their designated targets throughout the Pandronian fleet. The final battle for Helios 9 and the future of both their species had begun. The world rematerialized around Andrew in a dizzying blur of motion and light. He found himself in a sleek metallic corridor, the unmistakable architecture of a Pandronian warship surrounding him. Zara appeared beside him, her scales shimmering as she adjusted to their new environment. "Command deck, 2 levels up," Zara whispered, her keen senses already attuned to their surroundings. Andrew nodded, unholstering his weapon. They moved swiftly through the ship's passageways, their footsteps echoing in the eerie quiet. The calm wouldn't last long. As if on cue, an alarm blared through the ship. Red lights pulsed along the walls, bathing everything in a crimson glow. The sound of heavy footfalls approached from an adjoining corridor. "Company," Andrew muttered, pressing his back against the wall. A squad of Pandronian soldiers rounded the corner, their reptilian eyes widening at the sight of the intruders. Andrew didn't hesitate. He fired a burst from his weapon, the energy bolt slamming into the lead soldier's chest. Zara moved with liquid grace, her own weapon spitting fire as she targeted the weak points in the Pandronian's armor. The skirmish was over in seconds, leaving the corridor littered with unconscious bodies. Andrew and Zara pressed on, their progress a symphony of stealth and calculated violence. Meanwhile, deep in the bowels of another warship, Lydia and Maya worked with furious intensity. Lydia's fingers flew over an alien control panel, her engineering expertise allowing her to decipher the Pandronian systems. "How much longer?" Maya asked, her eyes darting between the entrance and their work. Lydia gritted her teeth. "Almost there. Just need to... Got it!" A satisfying hum filled the air as the ship's main weapon systems powered down. Maya allowed herself a grim smile. One down, a whole fleet to go. Back on Helios 9's surface, Kira stood in the heart of the settlement's makeshift command center. Holographic displays surrounded her, each one depicting a different aspect of the unfolding battle. Her eyes darted from screen to screen, taking in every detail. "Pandronian dropships, Sector 7, a voice called out. Kira's hands danced over the controls. "Activating holographic decoys in Sectors 6 through 8. Redirect our forces to flank them from the east. As she spoke, shimmering images of human defenders sprang to life across the battlefield. The Pandronian forces, caught off guard by the sudden appearance of new enemies, split their formation. It was all the opening the real human defenders needed. A thunderous explosion rocked the command center. Kira stumbled, catching herself on the edge of a console. The planetary shield flickered ominously. "Shield integrity at 37% and falling," an urgent voice reported. Kira's mind raced. They needed more power, and fast. Her eyes fell on the life support readouts for the settlement. It was a terrible choice, but the only one left. "Divert power from life support to the shield," she ordered, her voice steady despite the weight of the decision. 75% capacity should buy us the time we need. On the Pandronian flagship, Andrew and Zara fought their way through increasingly desperate resistance. They moved in perfect sync, covering each other's blind spots and anticipating each other's moves. Human and Pandronian, united in purpose. They burst onto the bridge in a hail of weapons fire. Pandronian crew members scattered, some diving for cover, while others rushed to defend their stations. In the center of it all stood Commander Corvis, his imposing figure radiating fury. "Traitor!" Corvis snarled at Zara, drawing a wicked-looking blade from his belt. Andrew raised his weapon, but Zara was already in motion. She met Corvis's charge head-on, her smaller frame allowing her to duck under his wild swing. Andrew circled, looking for an opening. The two Pandronians grappled, a whirlwind of scales and slashing claws. Zara fought with a cold precision, targeting nerve clusters and weak points in Corvis's natural armor. But the commander's raw strength was overwhelming. Corvis slammed Zara against a control panel, his blade inching towards her throat. Andrew saw his chance. He launched himself forward, years of special forces training, guiding his movements. His shoulder connected with Corvis's midsection, driving the air from the Pandronian's lungs. The three of them went down in a tangle of limbs. Andrew's fist connected with Corvis's jaw, the impact jarring up his arm. Zara twisted, her elbow finding a sensitive spot beneath Corvis's ribs. With a final desperate surge, Andrew managed to pin Corvis's arms behind his back. The commander thrashed, but his strength was spent. "It's over," Andrew panted, securing Corvis with restraints. Zara was already at the ship's main control panel. "I have access to the fleet-wide communication system," she reported. Andrew nodded, catching his breath. "Do it." Across the Pandronian fleet, view screens flickered to life. Andrew's face appeared, his expression grim but determined. "Attention, Pandronian forces," he began. "What I'm about to tell you will change everything you thought you knew about this war." As Andrew's words echoed through the fleet, Lydia and Maya fought their way through the chaos they had created. Alarms blared, and emergency lights flashed as they navigated the crippled Pandronian ships. "There!" Lydia shouted over the din. "Central command node!" They burst into a cavernous room filled with holographic displays and pulsing energy conduits. Maya's tactical mind quickly assessed the layout. "Cover me!" she ordered, racing towards the main control interface. Lydia took up a defensive position, her weapon at the ready. She could hear the sound of approaching Pandronian security forces. Maya's fingers flew over the alien controls, her brow furrowed in concentration. Come on," she muttered. A group of Pandronian soldiers appeared in the doorway. Lydia opened fire, forcing them back. "Whatever you're doing, do it fast." "Got it!" Maya exclaimed. The room's displays flickered, then went dark. Throughout the fleet, engines sputtered and died. The Pandronian armada hung motionless in space, their navigational systems locked down. On the surface of Helios 9, Kira watched as the planetary shield stabilized. The adjustment to power flow had worked, but at a cost. The air in the settlement was already growing thin. "Pandronian forces retreating," a voice called out. A cheer went up from the defenders, but Kira's relief was short-lived. "We've lost contact with Lydia's team," another voice reported. Kira's heart sank. She had sent her friend into terrible danger, and now... A burst of static filled the command center. "Is Lydia? Do you read me? Maya's hurt, but we're alive. Mission accomplished." Kira allowed herself a moment of pure joy before refocusing on the task at hand. They had won a great victory, but the real challenges were just beginning. In the aftermath of the battle, Andrew gathered his team aboard the captured Pandronian flagship. They were battered and exhausted, but alive. As they began to process the magnitude of what they had accomplished, Andrew's thoughts turned to the future. They had liberated Helios 9 and revealed a truth that could reshape the relationship between humans and Pandronians forever. But there were still countless obstacles ahead. Establishing communication with Earth, integrating the captured Pandronian forces, and building a lasting peace between two species with a long history of conflict. As Andrew looked at his team, human and Pandronian alike, he felt a surge of hope. Together, they had achieved the impossible, and together, they would face whatever challenges lay ahead. Andrew took a deep breath, surveying the faces of his team. The battle had been won, but a new challenge lay before them. "We've achieved something remarkable," he said, his voice carrying a mix of pride and caution. "But now comes the hard part, building a lasting peace." Over the next few days, Andrew worked tirelessly to establish communication with the Pandronian High Command. The revelation of their shared ancestry proved to be a powerful bargaining chip. After intense negotiations, a ceasefire was agreed upon, bringing an uneasy calm to Helios 9. With the immediate threat of conflict subsided, Andrew turned his attention to creating a stable governance structure for the planet. He gathered his team in the makeshift command center, now bustling with activity as humans and Pandronians work side by side. "We need to formalize our leadership," Andrew announced. "Zara, I want you as our chief diplomat. Your understanding of both cultures will be crucial in the days ahead." Zara nodded, her scales shimmering in the artificial light. "I'll do my best to bridge the gap between our peoples." Andrew continued, "Kira, you'll head up planetary development. We need to expand our settlement and manage our resources efficiently." Kira's eyes lit up at the challenge. "I've already got some ideas for sustainable expansion. We can use the ancient technology we've uncovered to our advantage." "Good," Andrew said. "Maya, I'm putting you in charge of our military operations. We need a joint human Pandronian defense force to protect Helios 9. Maya's expression was grim but determined. "I'll make sure we're ready for any threat, internal or external." As the team dispersed to their new roles, Andrew's thoughts turned to Lydia. Her signal had been lost during the chaotic teleportation process, and her absence deeply affected on them all. "We're not giving up on her," Andrew declared, his voice firm. "I'm leading a series of rescue missions. We'll use the ancient tech in the ruins to scan for her biosignature." The search for Lydia proved to be fraught with danger. Andrew led his team through treacherous asteroid fields and past the smoldering wrecks of Pandronian ships. They encountered pockets of resistance, Pandronian loyalists who refused to accept the ceasefire. During one particularly harrowing mission, their ship's sensors picked up an anomaly on a nearby moon. As they approached, they discovered a hidden Pandronian research facility nestled in a crater. "This doesn't look like a standard military installation," Zara observed as they prepared to infiltrate. The team moved swiftly through the facility's corridors, disabling security systems and avoiding patrols. They soon found themselves in a vast chamber filled with holographic displays and strange artifacts. "Look at this," Kira breathed, her fingers dancing over a control panel. "It's all about Helios 9's original inhabitants. The Pandronians have been studying them for years." As Andrew absorbed this new information, a familiar voice crackled over their comms. Is anyone there? This is Lydia. I need help." They raced toward the source of the signal, fighting their way past the facility's security forces. They found Lydia in a containment cell, weakened but alive. "The teleporter malfunctioned," she explained as Andrew helped her to her feet. "I ended up here. They've been interrogating me, trying to understand how we activated the ancient technology." Alarms blared throughout the facility. "They've triggered a self-destruct sequence," Maya shouted over the din. What followed was a desperate race against time. Andrew and his team fought their way back to their ship, Lydia leaning heavily on Zara for support. They barely cleared the blast radius as the facility erupted in a massive explosion behind them. Upon returning to Helios 9, the team wasted no time in putting their newfound knowledge to use. The data they'd recovered from the research facility proved invaluable in understanding the planet's ancient technology. "We can use this to terraform sections of the desert," Kira explained, her eyes shining with excitement. "Create more habitable areas, expand our settlement." As word of their success spread, Helios 9 saw an influx of settlers, both human and Pandronian. The population swelled, bringing with it new challenges. Tensions arose between the two species as they learned to coexist. Andrew and Zara found themselves constantly mediating disputes, using their own relationship as an example of successful integration. "We need to implement cultural exchange programs," Zara suggested during a late-night strategy session. "Help both sides understand each other better." Their efforts were making progress, but a new threat loomed on the horizon. Corvis, who had been under house arrest, managed to escape with the help of loyalist supporters. "He's fled the planet," Maya reported, her face grim. "Intel suggests he's rallying anti-human factions within the Empire." Andrew's mind raced with the implications. They needed to shore up their defenses and fast, but he also saw an opportunity. "It's time we reached out to Earth," he announced to his team. "Using the ancient communication tech, we can contact the human resistance groups, share what we've learned about Pandronian weaknesses and our shared ancestry." As they prepared to send their message, Andrew couldn't help but feel a mix of hope and trepidation. They had come so far, achieved so much, but the real test was yet to come. The fate of not just Helios 9, but potentially the entire human race, hung in the balance. The ancient communication array hummed to life, its energy pulsing through the air. Andrew took a deep breath, steadying himself for what lay ahead. Ahead, the ancient communication array pulsed with energy, its alien technology a stark reminder of the incredible journey that had brought them to this moment. Andrew's fingers hovered over the transmit button, his mind racing with the potential consequences of their message to Earth. "This is it," he said, looking at his team. "Once we send this, there's no going back." Zara placed her hand on his shoulder, her scales cool against his skin. "We're ready, Andrew. The galaxy needs to know the truth." With a nod, Andrew pressed the button. The array hummed, sending their message across the vast expanse of space. As the transmission completed, a wave of exhaustion washed over him. The team had been working non-stop for days, pushing themselves to the limit. "Get some rest," Andrew ordered. "We'll need all our strength for what comes next." In the weeks that followed, Helios 9 transformed. The planet buzzed with activity as preparations for the Galactic Summit intensified. Ships from Earth and various Pandronian factions arrived daily, their passengers a mix of hopeful diplomats and wary soldiers. Andrew stood at the spaceport, watching as another shuttle touched down. The influx of delegates was straining their resources to the breaking point. He turned to Maya, who was coordinating security for the arrivals. "How are we holding up?" he asked. Maya's expression was grim. "We're stretched thin, Andrew. I need more personnel, preferably someone with experience handling large-scale operations like this." Andrew nodded, an idea forming. "I think I know just the person. Give me a few hours." He made his way to the communications center, placing a call to Earth. Hours later, Elena stepped off a transport, her sharp eyes taking in every detail of her new surroundings. "Quite the operation you've got here," she said, shaking Andrew's hand. "When you said you needed help, I didn't realize you meant with organizing an intergalactic peace conference." Andrew smiled, relief evident in his voice. "Welcome to Helios 9, Elena. Your tactical expertise is exactly what we need right now." As Elena integrated into the team, the day of the summit arrived. The newly constructed conference center stood as a testament to human and Pandronian cooperation, its architecture blending elements from both cultures. Andrew took the podium, facing a sea of faces, human, Pandronian, and everything in between. He took a deep breath, acutely aware of the weight of history on his shoulders. "Delegates, representatives, fellow sentients," he began, his voice strong and clear. "We stand here today on the precipice of a new era. For too long, humans and Pandronians have been locked in a cycle of conflict, each side viewing the other as an existential threat. But the truth is, we are more alike than we ever imagined. As Andrew spoke, Zara stepped forward, activating a holographic display. It showed a complex web of genetic markers, undeniable proof of their shared ancestry. "The evidence is clear," Zara continued, her voice steady despite the murmurs rippling through the crowd. "Humans and Pandronians share a common origin. We are, in the most fundamental sense, family." The revelation sent shockwaves through the assembly. Some delegates leaned forward, eyes wide with wonder. Others recoiled, struggling to reconcile this new information with long-held beliefs. As the summit progressed, Andrew felt a growing sense of optimism. Discussions were heated but productive, with both sides showing a willingness to find common ground. Then, on the third day, everything changed. Alarms blared throughout the conference center. Maya's voice crackled over the comms. "Andrew, we've got a situation. Human extremists have breached security. They're planting explosives." Andrew's mind raced. If the explosives detonated, it would destroy any hope for peace. He turned to Elena, who was already analyzing the situation. "We need to split up," she said, her tactical mind working overtime. "Two teams, one to evacuate the delegates, one to neutralize the threat." Andrew nodded. "Maya, you're with me. We'll handle the explosives. Elena, coordinate the evacuation with Zara." They moved swiftly through the building's corridors, Elena's voice guiding them via comms. As they approached the location of the explosives, Andrew caught sight of a man he recognized from the Earth delegation, Marcus. "Marcus!" Andrew called out, his weapon raised. "Step away from the device!" Marcus whirled, his eyes wild. "You don't understand. They can't be trusted. This is the only way to ensure humanity's survival." "You're wrong," Andrew said, inching closer. "This will only lead to more bloodshed. We have a real chance at peace. Don't throw it away." For a moment, Marcus hesitated. Then with a snarl, he lunged for the detonator. Andrew tackled him, the two men grappling on the floor. Maya rushed forward, her fingers flying over the bomb's control panel. "It's disarmed," she announced, relief evident in her voice. As Andrew secured Marcus, he could hear Elena coordinating the all-clear signal. The immediate danger had passed, but the aftermath of the attempted attack would have far-reaching consequences. In the days that followed, Andrew worked tirelessly to keep the peace process on track. The failed bombing had shaken many delegates, but it had also demonstrated the need for unity in the face of extremism. During a late-night strategy session, Kira burst into the room, her eyes shining with excitement. "I've done it," she exclaimed, spreading out a series of diagrams on the table. "I've adapted the ancient terraforming technology. We can use it to restore Earth's ecosystem." The team gathered around, poring over the plans. Andrew felt a surge of hope. This could be the key to securing lasting cooperation between humans and Pandronians. As they prepared to present Kira's findings to the summit, Andrew pulled Zara aside. "There's something I want to discuss with you," he said, his voice low. "Something personal." Zara's scales shifted, reflecting her curiosity. "What is it, Andrew?" He took her hand, marveling at how natural it felt despite their physical differences. "I think it's time we made our relationship official, not just for us, but as a symbol of what's possible between our species." Zara's eyes widened, then softened. "Are you sure? It could be controversial." Andrew nodded, his commitment firm. "I'm sure. Whatever challenges come, we'll face them together." As they returned to the conference hall, hand in hand, Andrew knew that the road ahead would be difficult. But for the first time since this journey began, he felt truly optimistic about the future. The galaxy was changing, and they were at the forefront of that change. The next phase of negotiations was about to begin, and with it, the potential for a new era of peace and cooperation. But even as hope blossomed, a shadow loomed on the horizon. Somewhere out there, Corvis was plotting his next move, a threat that could upend everything they had worked so hard to achieve. The galaxy was changing, and they were at the forefront of that change. The next phase of negotiations was about to begin, and with it, the potential for a new era of peace and cooperation. But even as hope blossomed, a shadow loomed on the horizon. Somewhere out there, Corvis was plotting his next move, a threat that could upend everything they had worked so hard to build. That threat materialized sooner than anyone expected. As delegates filed into the summit complex for another day of talks, alarms blared through the building. Maya's voice crackled over the comm system. Corvis and his forces have breached the perimeter. All delegates evacuate immediately. Andrew sprang into action, his body tensing for the fight ahead. He turned to Zara, who nodded grimly. They had prepared for this possibility, but the reality of it sent adrenaline coursing through their veins. Elena, coordinate the evacuation, Andrew ordered. Maya, meet us at the east entrance. Zara, you're with me. They raced through the corridors, the sound of weapons fire growing louder. As they rounded a corner, they nearly collided with Maya, her uniform singed from a close call. Corvis has an elite guard with him, Maya reported, her breath coming in short gasps. They're pushing towards the main chamber. Andrew's mind raced, formulating a plan. We need to draw them away from the delegates. Maya, take the high ground and provide cover fire. Zara, use your knowledge of Pandronian physiology to target their weak points. As they moved into position, Andrew caught sight of Corvis. The Pandronian leader's eyes blazed with fanatical drive as he barked orders to his troops. The battle erupted in a cacophony of energy blasts and shouted commands. Andrew ducked and weaved, his enhanced reflexes allowing him to anticipate and dodge incoming fire. Zara moved with fluid grace, her strikes precise and devastating as she exploited gaps in the Pandronian armor. Maya's voice came through their earpieces, guiding their movements. 2 hostiles on your 6, Andrew. Zara, watch for the sniper on the balcony. As they fought, Andrew marveled at how seamlessly they worked together. Months of training and shared experiences had forged them into a formidable unit. Suddenly, a familiar voice cut through the chaos. Defense system activated. It was Lydia, her tone triumphant. A shimmering energy field sprang to life, encasing the complex and trapping Corvis's forces inside. Nice work, Lydia, Andrew said, allowing himself a small smile. Now let's finish this. The tide of battle began to turn. Kira's voice came over the comm. I'm using the terraforming tech to reshape the interior. Watch your footing. The floor beneath their feet rippled and shifted. Walls sprouted from nowhere, providing cover for Andrew's team while leaving Corvis's forces exposed. Andrew pressed the advantage, pushing deeper into enemy lines. Finally, he found himself face to face with Corvis. The Pandronian leader snarled, raising his weapon. You fool! You would destroy everything we've built, everything we are! Andrew stood his ground. No, Corvis. We're building something new, something better. For all of us. They clashed in a furious exchange of blows. Corvis was strong, his military training evident in every move. But Andrew had learned much during his time on Helios 9. He fought with a fluid adaptability that kept Corvis off balance. As they grappled, Andrew saw an opening. He feinted left, then struck with his right, knocking Corvis's weapon from his hand. A swift kick sent the Pandronian leader sprawling. Andrew stood over him, chest heaving. It's over, Corvis. Surrender. For a moment, Corvis's eyes burned with defiance. Then slowly the fight drained out of him. He slumped to the ground, defeated. As word of Corvis's capture spread, the remaining hostile forces laid down their arms. The complex buzzed with activity as security teams secured the prisoners and medical staff tended to the wounded. Andrew found Zara amidst the chaos, relief washing over him as he saw she was unharmed. They embraced briefly, words unnecessary between them. Elena approached, her usual composure slightly ruffled by the recent events. The delegates are safe. They've been watching everything on the live feeds. I think you've made quite an impression. Andrew nodded, his mind already racing ahead to what needed to be done next. Let's get everyone back in here. It's time to finish what we started. As the summit reconvened, Andrew took the podium once more. The delegates watched him with a mix of awe and newfound respect. Today, we've seen the cost of division, Andrew began, his voice carrying across the hushed chamber. But we've also witnessed the power of unity. Humans and Pandronians working together have overcome a threat that neither could have faced alone. He gestured to his team, Zara, Maya, Elena, Lydia, and Kira, standing proudly behind him. This is what our future can look like. Not just coexistence, but true cooperation. We have the chance to build something extraordinary. As Andrew spoke, he could see the impact of his words. Delegates nodded, their expressions thoughtful. When he proposed the formation of a joint council to oversee human Pandronian integration, the motion passed with overwhelming support. The next few hours were a whirlwind of activity. Kira presented her plans for Earth's restoration, earning enthusiastic approval. Maya outlined the structure for a joint peacekeeping force, while Elena's proposal for an interspecies university was met with excited murmurs. As the session drew to a close, Andrew knew they had reached a turning point. He turned to Zara, taking her hand. "There's one more thing," he said, addressing the assembly. "I'd like to nominate Zara as the first chairperson of our new council." Zara's eyes widened in surprise, but she stepped forward, her voice steady as she accepted the nomination. The vote was swift and decisive. Zara would lead them into this new era. As the delegates filed out, buzzing with plans and possibilities, Andrew allowed himself a moment of quiet satisfaction. They had done it. The path ahead would not be easy, but they had taken the first crucial steps. Zara joined him, her scales shimmering with terrifying emotion. "So," she said, a hint of amusement in her voice, "what's our next impossible task?" Andrew chuckled, pulling her close. "I'm sure we'll find out soon enough, but for now, let's just enjoy this moment." As they stood together, overlooking the bustle of activity below, Andrew couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning. New challenges would arise, old prejudices would resurface, but he knew that, together, they were ready to face whatever came next. As the dust settled on the recently averted crisis, Andrew found himself standing before the newly formed Interspecies Council. The chamber buzzed with energy as representatives from Earth and Pandron gathered to discuss the next steps in their fragile alliance. "We've made tremendous progress," Zara began, her scales shimmering under the chamber's lights. "But we face a new challenge. Isolationist movements are gaining traction on both our worlds." Andrew nodded, his mind racing. He'd seen the reports, protests on Earth, conservative factions pushing back on Pandron. Their hard-won peace teetered on a knife's edge. "We need to show them what we've accomplished here on Helios 9, Andrew said, his voice firm. "Not just tell them, but let them see it with their own eyes." Elena leaned forward, her brow furrowed. "What are you proposing, Andrew?" He took a deep breath, knowing his next words would set them on a new path. "A grand tour of the galaxy. We'll visit Earth, Pandron, and key worlds in between. We'll showcase our successes, address concerns, and demonstrate the benefits of integration firsthand." The council chamber erupted in a mix of excited chatter and concerned murmurs. Maya raised her hand, silencing the room. "It's risky," she said, her tactical mind already assessing potential threats. "But I see the value. We'd need a specialized ship, one that combines both our technologies." Lydia's eyes lit up. "I can work with the engineering team to design something suitable, a vessel that embodies our cooperation in its very structure." As the council debated the logistics, Andrew caught Zara's eye. She nodded, a small smile playing at the corners of her mouth. They both knew the challenges ahead, but also the potential for real, lasting change. Weeks later, Andrew stood in the hangar bay of their new ship, the Harmony. Its sleek lines and pulsing energy core showcased the best of human innovation and Pandronian precision. His team gathered around him, Zara, Lydia, Maya, Kira, and Elena, each ready to play their part in this ambitious mission. "First stop, Earth," Andrew announced as they boarded. The anticipation was palpable as the Harmony lifted off, its engines humming with power. The journey to Earth was smooth, but as they entered the atmosphere, the reality of their task set in. Below them, a patchwork of celebration and protest spread across major cities. Banners welcoming the heroes of Helios 9 waved alongside signs denouncing alien influence. They touched down in the heart of what was once New York City. As the team disembarked, Andrew's breath caught in his throat. The once towering skyscrapers were skeletal remains, the streets cracked and overgrown. The scars of war were etched into every surface. But amidst the destruction, he saw hope. People gathered, their faces a mix of curiosity and caution. Andrew stepped forward, Zara by his side. "We've come to help," he said, his voice carrying across the crowd, "to show you what's possible when we work together." Over the next days, the team sprang into action. Kira set up terraforming stations, their pulsing energy beginning to purify the air and soil. Lydia worked with local engineers, adapting Pandronian technology to restore power grids and communication networks. Andrew found himself in the thick of the rebuilding efforts, hauling debris alongside human volunteers and Pandronian workers. The physical labor was grueling, but he saw attitudes shift with each passing hour. Humans and Pandronians trading stories over shared meals, working in tandem to clear rubble and plant new life in the barren soil. As the week drew to a close, the transformation was remarkable. Parks bloomed where there had been only dust. Clean water flowed from restored aqueducts. The air itself seemed lighter, cleaner. Standing atop a newly constructed viewpoint, Andrew addressed a gathering of thousands. "This is just the beginning," he said, gesturing to the renewed landscape. "Imagine this change spreading across the globe, across the galaxy. That's the future we're building together." The crowd's response was electric, a surge of hope and willpower that washed away much of the earlier skepticism. As they prepared to depart for Pandron, Andrew knew they had taken a crucial first step. But Pandron presented a different challenge entirely. As the Harmony entered orbit around the Pandronian homeworld, the team could sense the tension even from space. Conservative factions had rallied their supporters, filling the airwaves with warnings about the dangers of human influence. Zara took the lead as they landed, her status as a respected Pandronian scientist, opening doors that might have remained closed to Andrew. She organized a series of public debates, presenting irrefutable evidence of their shared ancestry and the potential benefits of cooperation. Andrew, determined to prove human adaptability, took on a series of Pandronian physical challenges. The gravity was punishing, the atmosphere thin, but he pushed through, showcasing the tenacity that had allowed humanity to survive on a war-torn Earth. Day by day, they saw attitudes shift. Pandronian citizens, initially wary, began to engage with the human members of the team. Cultural exchanges sprang up organically, humans learning intricate Pandronian dances, Pandronians marveling at Earth music and art. Their success on Earth and Pandron fueled the next phase of their journey. The Harmony set course for a series of worlds, each presenting unique challenges and opportunities. On a water world with vast, untapped resources, Lydia designed amphibious habitats that allowed both species to thrive beneath the waves. Andrew watched in awe as humans and Pandronians worked together to construct underwater cities, their different physiologies complementing each other perfectly. A low-gravity moon became the stage for Maya's mixed-species sports tournament. The events were a revelation, showcasing the unique strengths of both races. Humans excelled in tests of agility and quick thinking, while Pandronians dominated feats of endurance and precision. The friendly competition fostered a spirit of camaraderie that transcended old rivalries. At each stop, Elena established cultural exchange programs. Art galleries sprang up featuring works that blended human and Pandronian styles. Musicians collaborated on pieces that merged Earth's rhythms with the complex harmonics of Pandronian songs. These shared experiences did more to bridge the gap between their peoples than any official treaty could have. As they traveled, Kira's attention was drawn to a series of ruins scattered across the worlds they visited. Each site bore the unmistakable mark of the ancient civilization that had once spanned the galaxy. She threw herself into studying these remnants, refining the terraforming technology with each new discovery. The results were staggering. On a war-torn world at the edge of known space, Kira's enhanced terraforming devices transformed a barren wasteland into a thriving ecosystem in a matter of weeks. The success cemented the benefits of human Pandronian cooperation in the minds of even the most hardened skeptics. But their journey was not without its perils. As the Harmony approached a distant outpost, alarms blared through the ship. Maya's voice cut through the chaos. "Multiple hostile ships detected? They've locked weapons on us." Andrew raced to the bridge, his mind racing. Through the view screen, he saw a motley fleet of ships, some human, some Pandronian, all dripping with weapons. "It's Marcus," Zara said, her voice tight. "He must have escaped custody and rallied extremists from both our species." As energy blasts rocked the Harmony, Andrew made a split-second decision. "Zara, with me on piloting. Maya, coordinate our defenses. Lydia, we need shields. Now!" What followed was a harrowing dance through a dense asteroid field. Andrew's intuitive flying merged seamlessly with Zara's precise calculations. They wove between massive rocks, using them as cover against the onslaught. Maya's voice was a constant presence, guiding their movements and coordinating their counterattacks. Lydia worked miracles with the shields, adapting them on the fly to withstand weapons they'd never encountered before. In the end, it was their unity that won the day. The extremist fleet, lacking the cohesion of the Harmony's crew, fell into disarray. One by one, they were disabled or forced to retreat. As the last enemy ship surrendered, Andrew allowed himself a moment of relief. They had faced their greatest test yet and emerged victorious. The battle became a rallying point, broadcast across the galaxy as a testament to what humans and Pandronians could achieve together. Support for integration swelled, effectively neutralizing the isolationist movements that had threatened their progress. With renewed purpose, the Harmony set course for Helios 9. They had one final, monumental task ahead, the inauguration of the Interspecies University. As they approached the planet where their journey had begun, Andrew felt a profound sense of how far they had come. The campus sprawled across Helios 9's surface, a marvel of architecture that combined elements from both Earth and Pandron. At its heart stood a grand auditorium where representatives from every world they had visited gathered for the ceremony. As Andrew took the stage, he saw not just diplomats and officials, but the faces of those they had helped along the way. Farmers from the restored Earth, engineers from the underwater cities, athletes from the low-gravity games, each a testament to the new era they had ushered in. He began to speak, his words carrying the weight of their shared experiences. But this was more than just the culmination of their grand tour. It was the beginning of something even greater. As he concluded his speech, Andrew turned to Zara. She stepped forward, taking his hand. The audience murmured in surprise as they realized this was not just the inauguration of a university, but a wedding. Their vows blended traditions from both their worlds, a fitting symbol of the union they had fought so hard to create. As they sealed their bond, the auditorium erupted in cheers that seemed to shake the very foundations of Helios 9. The celebration spilled out onto the campus grounds, a joyous mingling of species and cultures. Andrew found a quiet moment amidst the festivities, gazing out at the three setting suns of Helios 9. Zara joined him, her presence a comforting warmth at his side. "Quite a journey," she said, her voice soft. Andrew nodded, thinking of all they had accomplished and all that still lay ahead. "And it's only just beginning," he replied, his eyes fixed on the horizon where new adventures awaited.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.